Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're going to now get started.
So good afternoon, everyone. This is Jennifer Canis, and today we're going to be talking about how to create lecture videos with PowerPoint recording. So welcome. So our presenters today are Wendy Tietz from Kent State University, myself from University of South Florida, and Tracy Miller-Nobles from Austin Community College. Please, if you have any questions during the presentation, if you could use the question and answer box for the questions that are down at the bottom of your screen, and we will make sure to answer your questions at the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Wendy so we can begin the presentation.
Great, let's get started. So I'm really excited about PowerPoint recording feature. Before we get to PowerPoint recording, just a few basic lecture video principles. If you're new to this, a really good way to start is start with what students should know and work backward from there. Keep your videos short, 3 to 8 minutes. You do not want to create hour-long videos. Plan it out first. Script it, meaning write what you're going to say, or at a minimum, have an outline of what you're going to say, and closed caption it. Now, everyone doesn't have this capability right away. We're doing the best we can. So when you get time or later on when you're refining things, closed caption it. So now, PowerPoint. There are 2 ways to record in PowerPoint. One is to record the slideshow. And this has been in PowerPoint for a long time. And what this allowed you to do was add audio to each slide. And that was pretty much all you could do. But this new feature is in Office 365 for Windows. It allows you to record audio and animation. You can edit slides and audio, meaning if you make a mistake, you can re-record one slide. You don't have to do the whole thing over. And you can also read slide notes as you record. So I'm going to go through some of these things as we go. So first, how do we get to it? So the traditional record slideshow, we see it in our toolbar up in the ribbon. We see slideshow, and then we have a record slideshow button. That's the old way, and that is not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is another place in the ribbon, and it's called recording. And once you click on recording in your ribbon, you will see these other options. Now, but before you can get recording in your ribbon, you do have to enable it. You have to turn it on. So to turn on your recording tab in your ribbon in PowerPoint, you have to go into the File tab of the ribbon, click Options, then in the Options dialog box, click on the Customize Ribbon tab on the left. In the right-hand box that lists the available ribbon tabs, select the recording checkbox, and then you click OK. So you have to do this before you're going to see the recording ribbon. So all the magic happens after you do this step. And I do want to mention that at the end of this today, I'll provide the URL where you can get a copy of the slides. So if you don't have those written down, don't worry, at the end I'll tell you how you can get it. Okay. So let's assume we have the recording enabled in our ribbon, and there's several buttons. And we're going to go over some of those buttons today, not all of them, because some of them are out of the scope of what we're doing. But we're going to go over recording audio and animation. We're going to go over how to make a screenshot, make screen recordings, insert video, and create a file to share. So those are all the things we'll be able to do. In case you're wondering, Forms is a quiz-like tool, and it's part of Teams, but if your students aren't in Teams, it's not, you can't really use it yet, so, but it's coming. And then Publish to Stream, we'll talk about later. That's only if your students are in Teams as well, but we're gonna cover the other ones. So first one, record audio and animations. So this is the really exciting one. This is the one you're going to do most of the time. So when you record audio and animations, what you'll do is you'll click Record Slideshow. So you're in your PowerPoint, you're going to be on the slide where you want to record, you click Record Slideshow, and then what your screen's going to look like is this. So on the slide that you're in, you have a big red record button in the upper left corner, and that will turn on the audio recording so you can record whatever you want to say about the slide. Now, there's a couple other really neat features on this. You see that up at the top, middle top, it says notes. You can toggle on and off the notes. So if you've typed in your script for your notes or any even notes for you to follow as you go along, those will display at the top if you want them. You can increase the font size or decrease the font size of your notes. So that's a really nice option. And then down at the bottom, you'll see a bunch of ink colors. If you're using a Microsoft Surface or another device that has a pen, you can write on your slides. So PowerPoint actually records you talking and writing at the same time. If you have any built-in animations, it will also record those. Now, PowerPoint records the animations and the slides for each slide. So when you're done recording one slide, you would click the next arrow and you would be on the next slide. So it makes it really easy. And the thing that's so exciting about this is, let's say you get done and then you realize you forgot to put a slide in the middle of something you wanted to say. You can go back and insert that slide in the middle and record just that slide. Or you decide that you made a mistake in one of the slides, you can go back and correct it, correct your audio, re-record the audio for just that one slide. So that's why I think this is such a great tool. Okay, so that's where you're going to spend most of your time. That's just the real basics. You're going to record, you're going to stop. When you record your first slide, you probably want to hit replay and make sure your audio is working. You also have the ability to record using a webcam at the same time. So you could have a talking head in your slide if you want. And so you can do all those options, whatever you want to do. So that's the first, that's your main button. But there's other options we have that make it even more versatile. So the next one we're going to look at is, let's say you want to include a screenshot in your PowerPoint. So how you would do that is you would click on the screenshot button. Now, when we see this, what we're going to see next is we're going to see how to do this screenshot. Okay, so what we have here is in your PowerPoint where you want to take a screenshot. Let's say I want to take a screenshot of my Excel file. It's that easy. It just inserted a screenshot of my Excel file. Now let's say I want part of a window. So I go screenshot, and instead of clicking a window, I can click screen clipping. And here PowerPoint saying, which part of the screen do you want? So I'm going to select the part of the screen that I want in my PowerPoint, let go, and there it pops it right into my slide. So that's the way that we can do screenshots. So screenshots are one thing. We can also do screen recordings, which are really exciting because screen recordings allow us to show students how we do things. So to do the screen recordings, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the screen recording button. And once we do that, it is going to allow us to, we're going to select what we want to record. So we click on screen recording and it's going to bring up our screen, and then I'm going to select the area I want to record. So in this case, I want to record just my Excel window, so I'm going to drag and select it. Once I have the area selected, I hit the record button. It's going to count down and then it's recording me. So I can start doing what I want to do. Here I'm going to merge and center some cells. I'm going to merge and center another one. Then I'm going to put some lines under net income. So you can see I can talk through whatever I'm doing as I'm recording. Everything's being recorded with that red dotted line around it. That tells me I'm in recording mode. When I'm done, I will stop recording. Okay. So that's recording screencast or your screen. We can also insert video. Now, inserting video in your PowerPoint is really cool because we just saw it. That recording that we just saw about doing a screencast, that was actually a video that I created and I inserted. And when you insert a recording this way, like we're doing right here, that recording auto plays. So if you were, say, recording this whole PowerPoint show, it would auto play that. You don't have to click record. You don't have to click play. Also, how many times in class do you want to show a video clip and then you fumble around because you've got to find the right play button, right? Well, when you insert a video in through the recording feature like this, if you click video, it's going to put that clip in your PowerPoint and it's automatically going to play it, just like we did here. I have so far inserted 2 videos in this presentation, and when you get to that slide, it plays it. It's just an autoplay, and that's really cool not to have to fumble around and say, where do I click to make the video start? But how you make that happen is under the recording tab, click video, and then it'll bring up a list of videos and you browse to it on your system, and then you can pick which video you want to insert. So I have a whole bunch of MP4 videos here, and I'm inserting the one I want. So you can do that with any kind of video. You want to make it sure it's not like an hour-long video, but if you have a little clip and you want to insert it, that's a really nice way. Even when we go back to teaching in person, if you want to insert a video clip, you can insert the video right in the recording tab. You don't even have, you can use it just presenting. The video will autoplay, and I think that's really cool. Also, there's an audio, you can insert audio in your PowerPoint as well, and that works the same way. Okay, so next up, okay, next we have creating the file to share. Okay, so let's say we've done all our recording. We've recorded our audio, we've recorded writing on the screen, we've inserted files we want to share, we've done everything. Now what do we do with it? What we do to do that is we have some choices here. So one choice would be to share the file as a PowerPoint show file. And this is actually, you save it as a PowerPoint show file. This one that I made today, the one that I'm talking through right now, that one would be about 36, 37 megabytes. So it's a fairly big file. And if you give that to students, they can watch it. And that's nice. They can't alter anything. They can just cycle through it. They can watch it as many times. Now, I'm not a big fan of that one. We also have the PowerPoint file. You could give the file away and then they have access to everything. The MP4 file itself is about the same distance, same size, but I really like the MP4 file. When you do this, you export it to video, you create a video. So now you have an MP4 file. You can see all of these files are roughly the same, but I'm a huge advocate of putting it on a streaming service. So a streaming service, so what I do for mine is I upload them to YouTube. And I upload them to YouTube because YouTube is almost always working. I don't have to rely on some service working or my school service working, but it's always going to work. And if YouTube's down, the whole world's going to know it, right? And it's not going to be a long outage. So I upload my videos, my MP4 videos to YouTube. I have a channel. And when you upload them, you don't have to think, oh, I'm giving this to the whole world. You can upload them as public, or you can upload them as unlisted, which unlisted means anybody with the link can get to it. So you can post the link in your LMS or your learning management system. So let's go back one. Back, Tracy, backwards. Okay, so not sure what's going on there. So back to my talking about the options. So you can upload to YouTube. The other thing that you can do is you can put it on stream. There's actually a button for it. Okay, so we just lost. Okay, I need to know right now. Can
Wendy, did you just
hear
lose
me?
internet? We are still
Yes.
here, and we can also still hear you. We are
Okay,
on
great.
slide 21, files to share.
Great, thank you. So yes, everyone, before this happened, internet had gone out twice at my house. So Tracy is hosting the video. So glad to know that. Okay, so YouTube is one option. Stream is another option. And students without Teams account can't really get to it too easily. So I'm not a big fan of streams until all our students have Teams accounts. You can also use your institution's own video server. At Kent State, we have Kaltura, and you may have something similar. What you don't want to do, you don't want to give your students a bunch of PowerPoint files to download because they have to download all those. The streaming services handle it much better. So next slide, files to share. Once you create an MP4 file, you can upload to YouTube or wherever your institution recommends. Do not put MP4 files typically on an LMS like Canvas or Blackboard because they'll be overloaded. You can't really do that. So best to use some kind of streaming service for videos. Okay, so other things you might need to know, you only have to re-record affected slides if you want to make changes. PowerPoint does not record audio or video when changing slides. So when you hit that next button, nothing you're doing will be recorded as you're changing. So it's best practice to allow a second or two at the end of each slide and a second or two at the beginning of the slide so you don't get cut off. You also need to use the desktop version of PowerPoint to record. You're not going to be able to use PowerPoint online. You have to use the desktop version, and I do not think this is in PowerPoint for Mac. I think it has to be Windows at this point. After you finish your first recording for your slide, go back and check it because you want to make sure your audio is right. You want to make sure everything's like you expect. Okay, next slide. If you're writing on slides, like using ink, make several copies of the slides before recording. So if I'm going to be working out a calculation, I'll set up the problem slide on one side, and then I'll make 3 or 4 copies of it, because as I'm recording, I'll do the first one, and if I don't like how I did the first one, I can go ahead and record the next slide, do it again, maybe the next slide, or if I'm happy, I can just skip the next slide, and then I go back and delete the ones I don't want to. So it helps you not get out of your flow, because you're talking, all of a sudden it's kind of a bummer to go back and say, oh, let me stop, erase that slide. So this way you can erase the ones you don't want. So if you know you're going to be writing and talking, have a couple spares there. And then audio is usually much better with a headset rather than the built-in laptop mic. So your laptop comes with a microphone, and it's best if you don't use it. So maybe use a headset. The headset is going to produce a much better sound on average. Okay, and then next slide. Again, a reminder about turning on the recording tab in the ribbon. If you don't turn on that, you're not going to see it. So do that, and I have the instructions on that slide. And now I'm going to send it over to Tracy.
Wendy, you are just amazing that you could manage to pull that presentation off without having the internet or being able to see anything that you have on your screen. So awesome job. I'm so glad we knew this was gonna, we thought, you know, we had a feeling that maybe your internet would go out right now during the presentation. So I'm glad we had a backup plan. We do have some questions. We'll get to those in just a minute. We do want to remind everyone that please follow our blog, accountingisanalytics.com. We are doing some webinars the rest of this week and also webinars next week. We make all those announcements on our blog. We also have some recordings of webinars that we've done in the past. Those are available on our website. And, you know, maybe after life settles down and we get to our new normal, we will be back at work with our data analytics projects, and you'll receive announcements about those through our blog. So our upcoming webinars, we have on Friday, we have a Using Collaborate Ultra for live class presentation on Friday afternoon. Super excited for a presentation on Tuesday about using Microsoft Surface to write on your screen. We're also going to talk on Wednesday about using Zoom for office hours or your class. And then we'll finish out next week with a presentation on using Kahoot in your online class. Please register for these presentations on our website, accountingisanalytics.com. And even if you can't come, you can find the recordings on our website. So now, Wendy, you've done such a great job. I love this meme that we have today because this is exactly how my brain feels. It definitely feels full. But before we excuse everybody from our presentation today, we do have some great questions. So the first question we have relates to when you're in the recording area and you talked about how you could see your notes. The attendee on our session today wants to know if the students will see the notes when you do the recording, or is it only for the presenter to see?
It's only for the presenter to see. It is not part of the recording.
Okay, great. That's what I thought. So I'm super glad to hear that. As a reminder, if you have questions, I do see that one of you raised your hand. If you have questions, please type your questions in the question and answer panel. You'll see that question and answer panel. We have another question. This relates to the video. So very cool, Wendy, how you showed that you can insert a video that you've already created if you have the MP4 file. This attendee wanted to know, what if you just have a URL for the video?
What I would do in that case is there are a lot of services that allow you to download a video from a URL. So I would Google, if your URL is YouTube, that's fairly easy because you can Google how to download a video from YouTube, but there's other ways that you can capture videos from the internet. So you do need to convert it to an MP4 file that you can insert, because you can't insert a URL, but there's ways around that.
Okay, great. One of our participants said that he doesn't have a YouTube channel yet and he's never posted anything on YouTube before. Can you briefly, Wendy, just talk through kind of the process of how you would recommend somebody go about doing that?
Well, yeah, sure. YouTube is owned by Google, I believe, and your Gmail, if you set up a Gmail address, and then that would sign you into your YouTube account. So once you're in YouTube, it changes every couple of months, so I'm not totally sure, but once you're in YouTube, you have My Studio, I think it's called, or Creator Studio, and you have a channel. And if you're not using it for anything else, it's fine. You can just, there's an upload button right next to it, and YouTube guides you through it. And again, the big thing to know is, if I were doing this, I don't think I'd want to publish my videos for the whole world to see. So when I would upload, when you upload to YouTube, you get a screen where you upload the video from your desktop. You can drag it over there, and then you put a title for the video, and then you have to designate along the way if the video is appropriate for children or not. Put no. If you put yes, then you have to go through a lot of other verification. So you can just put no, so you're not focusing your video for children. And then you have to designate, before you hit save, publish, you have to designate whether it's public, unlisted, or private. Public means everybody can see it, they can search for it and find it. Unlisted is probably what you want, because unlisted means you have to have the URL to get to it. So that's a really good option. Private is really a hard one. Private means only people that you have invited to see it. And I personally have never used private. It's frustrating because if you were doing that with your students, you would have to invite each one to see it with their specific email address. So unlisted is a really good option. So I hope that's good for an overview.
Yeah, I agree, Wendy. I also use unlisted, and I also want to point out, Wendy made a great point about earlier talking about making sure your videos are closed caption. One of the really nice things about uploading your videos to YouTube is that it will do a decent job of closed captioning your videos. It's not perfect, but in the short term and in the situation we're in right now, it does a pretty good job of providing closed captions. So that's another really nice benefit of using YouTube to stream your videos. Now, we do have another question, Wendy, and this question says, is it possible to do the recording by not using the full screen mode?
Is it possible? I don't think so, but I'm not going to go totally out to say that.
That's my gut feeling too. I don't think so.
I'm walking through in my head when I was doing it. I mean, you do have the option of doing a custom show, which allows you to do the show in I'm just talking through the answer here. So it allows you to do the show in a smaller window, but once you do that, you lose all your animation. So I would say the answer, I'm 99% sure, is no.
Yeah.
And that's why those notes are really handy, right? Because you can put your notes in each slide and they're pop up.
So we've got another really interesting question. In your opinion, Wendy, is it better to do a recording in Zoom or record in PowerPoint? Pros and cons of using Zoom or PowerPoint?
This is an easy one. Zoom is for live events. So Zoom would be if you're having a little live interaction with someone or having a meeting that you want to record. Zoom is not made for recording. So if I were doing a recording,
you could do it that way, but really more designed for live sessions.
Yeah, and you don't have all the features that you would and Zoom is overwhelmed right now, so if there's other tools that you could use, probably better. If I wanted to do another free-form tool, I'd use Screencast-O-Matic. If I wanted to record all different parts of my screen or just part of my screen at a time, that's a good option. PowerPoint's going to give you a lot more control over what you're doing, a lot more polish. And the other thing to remember is if you use PowerPoint to record, you're going to be able to edit your audio or your slides on a slide-by-slide basis, which becomes really important if you make a mistake somewhere, or if you want to go back and insert something or update something, you don't have to do the whole thing over. Zoom is just start, stop, right? And you don't have any editing unless you go to a program like Camtasia.
Yeah, definitely can't do that editing feature in Zoom. So we have a question here, and I think this will be our last question of the afternoon. And the question is can you insert a link to your video? So you talked about the different options that you get after you've created the videos in PowerPoint recording. I think this question is asking, where would you insert the link?
Insert a link to another video in your PowerPoint presentation?
I think more, this is a link to your video. So can you insert a link to your video? So you certainly could insert a link in the PowerPoint to another video, right? Like
but keep in mind, if you put a link in the video and you make an MP4 file, that link is not going to be live. Right. And it's debatable whether it'll be live in a PowerPoint show, possibly. I haven't tried that. But if you're talking about the link for the video yourself, I would post it you can put it in your LMS as a web link, or you can email it out to students.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, we just got one more question. So this absolutely will be our last question. And that is, you know, when you were giving your guidance, Wendy, you mentioned that you like to keep your videos somewhere around 3 to 8 minutes. The participant on our webinar is asking if you mean per slide, or do you mean kind of the overall video being 3 to 8 minutes?
I'd say the overall video is 3 to 8 minutes. In a 3 to 8 minute video, depending on what the topic is, I could have anywhere from 3 to 20 slides, just depending. The design rule for videos and for presentations is fewer words, you know, more white space, make it digestible. You certainly don't want to put a whole paragraph of text on a slide, because start thinking about maybe that's better in a handout to go with the slides. So your video in its entirety, 3 to 8 minutes. And remember, you can think about a video as one learning objective. I have had certain learning objectives in my course where I have 4 videos for them, but there's 4 smaller chunks. And think about yourself too. Do you want to watch an hour-long video? Unless it's a movie, you know, so shorter is better if we can.
Yeah, so I tend to go a little longer than Wendy tends to go in the videos that I create. So I teach an upper level income tax course, and usually my videos are somewhere around 15 to 25 minutes or so, mostly because I know that my upper level students will watch the videos, and they're a bit more of a complexity of subject matter. So sometimes I can't work a problem in less than 3 to 8 minutes. So, so I think thinking about your audience is a good way to go, but I definitely agree that thinking about as short as possible to deliver the content and breaking content down into chunks is a really great idea. So I usually have anywhere between 6 to 8 videos for each of the chapters, each chapter that I'm delivering as far as content goes. So we want to mention to you that you can get our slides at that tiny CC AIA PPTX link on your screen. You can also get a copy of this recording on our website, accountingisanalytics.com. Give us a couple days or so to get the recording posted and up there for you, but it is available for you there. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we really appreciate you attending our webinar today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.